it's still on.
It's fine. Yeah, I can. I'm good.
He's good.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I hope everyone had a happy Easter weekend. And Chris Wilkins will not be with us today. We just received a note that he was not feeling well. So for anyone, I just wanted to let everybody be aware of that. And our first item of business is approval of the meeting minutes. I'm going to look for a motion to approve the executive session meeting minutes, but the regular meeting minutes from March 2nd I'm going to hold. So looking for a motion to approve January 5th, 2015 executive session meeting minutes, February 17th, 2015 executive session meeting minutes, and March 16th, 2015 executive session meeting minutes.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved 4-0. Announcements and presentation. I'd like to take a moment of silence. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide. Please stand for a moment of silence in remembrance of the 1.5 million Armenians who perished in the genocide of 1915. Thank you. We have an update on state projects. This is the portion of the agenda where Pam updates on state projects ongoing in the town. I know Pam has a couple items she'd like to share with us. Pam?
Yes, this I got from Mr. DeChico, our acting director of DPW. He attended a pre-construction meeting at RIDOT on repairs to bridges 483 and 486. The only bridge repair that would affect Narragansett is the repair to the Woodruff Avenue Bridge. The intended start date for construction of Woodruff Ave is September 8th, 2015. Construction will consist of pier cap replacement, deck joints, and resurfacing. During construction, the bridge will remain open to traffic. Just lane shifts may take place and no further weight restrictions will be added. No construction is allowed during the summer months, only after Labor Day and until Memorial Day. Carty Corps is the contractor doing the work. Tim White is the superintendent for Carty, and I have his number. And he also has been talking to the RIDOT field office. That's what he has for information, and you've had a long time before this is going to happen. So thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
I also have behind me on this screen, I wanted to announce I'm very proud of our fire department who competed the Saturday afternoon before Easter in the annual ALA Providence Stair Climb event. They had a record of 12 members from Narragansett. That's over a third of our department, all of whom donated their own time, money, and sweat to compete in this competitive fundraising event. We had our first female firefighter on this team this year, Aubrey Blanchett, and she did an outstanding job placing third fastest in the female firefighter category. Several others placed in their respective age brackets as well. The team finished in second place overall, and they were only 9 seconds, behind Providence Fire Department. I said, move over Providence next year, we'll do it. He couldn't be, this is Scott Partington now, our chief who's sitting right there, says he couldn't be more proud of their efforts, and he sent us a few pictures, and I'd like the public to see them. Mike, have you started them off already? That's a little dark. It's all of the 12? Okay, if you go on. That's how proud they were. I mean, you can really just see it on their faces. Go ahead. Now, our chief is standing there because he won first in his age bracket, but he was too humble to tell anybody, so I'm telling everybody, Scott. Okay, and that's really quite an event. Next year, he ages up into a new bracket. But I expect you're going to be just as strong. Thank you. And there's Audrey, our first female firefighter. I'm very, very proud of her. I can't say enough. And there they all are, getting ready or getting ready to go home or ready to do the climb, the finish. Now, this was in the Omni Hotel, which is 28 stories. So, correct? 22 floors, I'm sorry, 22. And there they are again, all of them. I'm very proud of them, and make sure they all know that we are proud of them. Thank you, Scott. kind of a feel-good thing, so.
Please send them our congratulations as well. Thank you. Pam, do you have any other items? I do not. Okay, great.
I do not. Thank you very much.
Great. All right. Our next item is the open forum. This is the period of the meeting in which individuals can address the council on any issues relevant in Narragansett. I ask that everyone is polite during this open forum session. Is there anyone who would like to speak during open forum? Stan.
First, I'd like to thank Pam and Laura for providing some financial numbers, and also I want to thank the press for putting in the paper. Kind of helps us out there to figure out what's going on financially, and I think that's been missing in the past probably, or not as effective as it should have been. And what I noticed in the paper was we have a department that had a fund balance of $5.2 million. They had excess funds of $5.2 million. I thought we were in trouble with our pension issues, $100 million in the hole. From my perception, we're in financial distress, extreme distress, not able really to spend money on anything. And then we got some department that had $5.2 million. And of course, now after spending, going on a spending spree of sorts, they'll be down to 2.7 or $2.8 million in excess monies. And I know we all like to have excess money, but I've mentioned that in the past. Every time you think you have some money available, you spend it. Whether it's the department. For one thing, I don't think any individual department should have their own piggy bank surplus. You have the surplus. One place, the town council determines the town hall has some surplus in the general fund. Not any department. Every department has an individual surplus. How many surpluses are we going to have? I mean, this is just ludicrous at this time, especially since you do have a problem with pension dollars. You know, I think it's time for us to hold our leaders responsible, to be more responsible. You need to have your feet to the fire. That means no surplus, or a minimum surplus. No surplus. If you have an emergency, covered by insurance. I have an emergency, I got insurance. And I'm hoping to see, I know you're not going to stop the surplus, and that should happen. That really should happen. Because you'll always think, I got this money back there. I got a millions back there. What's 20,000, 30,000? I got a million back there somewhere, so I can use it. Sometimes I get a feeling that's a rich kid type. I don't want to call you guys kids. I don't want to say that here. But you all are very young, from my perception. Yeah, you also, sir. And it kind of reminds me of my rich brother. Let's say, he just spends every dime he has, not 1 cent. Luckily, he's got a wife who saves money. But that's what's happening here. Is you don't understand how you're in a jam here. You don't know it or don't understand it. And you proceed to have some surpluses somewhere, so you perceive you have money. I want to stop the surpluses.
Stan, you're talking about the school budget, the school department.
That school budget was
I just want to make sure the mystery department all know about. As you know, Stan, the procedure is for our budget. We have our budget hearings, and we can either choose to give some money to the school department or level fund it each year. But then the school committee makes a decision on those year to year, and that surplus, as it grows, is really in their side of the ledger. It's not money we can take back from the school department.
Obviously, you've been funding them too much. Obviously, something's going wrong. And it's level funding. I go level funding. They lost 39. Good job. I hear that they lost 39. It's another thing. I read they lost 30 kids from grade 5 down to kindergarten. So we're level funding them, and here they have a reduced number of children. You know, common sense says we should have a reduction, never mind level funding. Something's wrong there, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, again, the numbers don't seem to add up. And that's what I'm getting in the paper here, unless you can tell me something different. We have less kids, yet we're level funded. Something wrong. They got too much money. Everyone has too much money. And therefore, I implore, please, let's reduce. Even the town, I hear it's going to be 13% surplus. No, not 13%. I know you can't cut it. Maybe down 5%. All right, I'll give you something. I'll go half. 5%, less than half. 5% surplus you have and no other department has. And if some department has a surplus, don't fund them as much. Let them use that surplus up.
So Stan, you know, and people in the town know the workshops, April 21st, 22nd, 23rd.
Please come.
That's the time to come. Thank you.
Yes, Stanley, also, it's state law. Town council cannot cut the school budget.
He knows.
The best you can do is level fund it.
He knows.
You mean we can't cut?
state,
we can't
you gotta-
reduce the funding. If they have less kids, if they lose 20 kids, we still got to fund them the maximum.
According to the
What happens if-
state.
What happens if we lose half the school department? You're still going to level fund them?
Got to talk to the
What-
state. Yeah.
come on.
I know. Believe me.
This has got to stop. This can't be true.
Hey,
We're going to have half the school, and then we still got to level
Stan,
fund
thank you for the education now on the school budget,
Thank you.
21st, 22nd, 23rd.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Richard?
You need the time.
That's perfect, yeah.
Sort of an old topic in a way, but as you know, I've battling through this history of Narragansett and up to finished 1977, which isn't. And of course, that's about, I guess, 12 years into urban renewal. And urban renewal has gone on a long time, since 1977. And what it did point out to me that while this project had been questioned pretty rigorously, it was okay until Gilbane Properties destroyed the market by tripling the rent. And since then, it has been an absolute nightmare. This is like 4 years, 5 years. God knows, this is never going to end. And I could make believe, well, maybe the town will take it for the town library, but that obviously is not going to happen. It is time that we have an aggressive ad hoc committee on filling those stores. We are just destroying this town. I know many elderly, and I guess I'm elderly too, seems to be anyway, really need something there, especially from the point of view of what was there before. And it's time we forced the Gilbane's hand, and we go to the top. We go to Gilbane Properties and we go to the board of directors. Dealing with the underlings, that just doesn't work. It is this time to be aggressive. And Gilbane may or may not have sold us a bill of goods. They may or may not have had a conflict of interest. That's all in the past. But right now, we are being destroyed. The public is unbelievably hurt by the failure of Gilbane Properties to do something. I know the guy's a nice guy, but we've been only talking to the lower echelon. It's time to hit the president of Gilbane Properties and the chairman of the board. We've just tolerated this nonsense too long.
Thank you, Richard. Al?
All about 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. First of all, we used to have a hearing aid here so we can hear what's going on here. I can't hear what's being said up here. I don't know what happened to that hearing aid.
So at our next meeting, because Al's always had that, can we just make sure that it's available to him?
Well, at any rate, I come to speak about the Homestead Act, and I think that it would be a good thing for us to have, like they have in Florida, where it keeps the seniors here a lot longer in the area. So that would be a good thing. And also, I think we should be able to build a pier, go to the Chamber of Commerce, and they should be able to get us enough sponsors to pay for a pier, and that would also increase our tourism for the whole year. So anyway, I don't know what they can do about the Homestead Act.
So we are going to have a public workshop on the Homestead Act after the budget season. As you know, there was a presentation from the EDC, but there are also some people who want to talk about the clean homestead exemption. So, but with the budget season right now, we didn't put any workshops on in April. So I will be putting that on for scheduling, Al, for the homestead.
Okay, but I can't hear what's.
I know. So next, let's make sure we can get Al, because I know he's always had that. So I apologize.
Thanks anyway.
I apologize.
Did he check? Is it in
He's
the
not
code?
in the
We should be able to get a pier built. You go to the Chamber of Commerce, and they can maybe have plaques along the pier to help support it, to pay for it. And this way we'll have our pier like we had years ago.
Thank you, Al.
Cam Weiner from Central Street. I have this marvelous book, and I found the house directly across the street from our town hall. And the ironic thing about it is this was in 1922 when this picture was taken, and you know the street looks the same as it did in 1922. Now, I appreciate very much having the street swept today. It really looks nice. But I would hesitate to bring friends from out of state beyond Fifth Avenue. You know, when you're coming up Central Street from Ocean Road, oh, what a wonderful street it is. And then you go up from Boone up to the Episcopal Church, and it's all right. But from then on, us po folk up here in Tacona, it's a disaster. I know you have lots of streets to repair, but couldn't you bring some pride to the town hall and have a street that you would be not ashamed to have people look at? I know you have many things more important to do, but we do pay our taxes, and I would just appreciate something a little neater and fewer potholes on our end of Central Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Mike has that on the agenda, too. It's on the docket to be done.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Fred Bartlett, 151 Ocean Road. I'm here about the Furman Triathlon. Not in regards to the agenda tonight. I didn't know it was going to be on the agenda, but every year for about 20 years we've had a half-iron triathlon here, and quite a few people in the audience are volunteers, or they help us out with the race. The race is run by FIRM, F-I-R-M, racing.com, and Wendy and Bill Fisk have had a philosophy over the years of putting on races in any local community. They give out half the profits, half the net profits go back to the organization. So in the past 20 years, approximately $200,000 has been given back to the town of Narragansett. We run the race the first Sunday after Labor Day when things are calmed down. And last year we had 300 to 400 people. Hopefully we can bring the numbers up this year. We've had some great support from the Parks and Recreation Department, as well as the Police Department, the Fire Department, Public Works, Highway. The last 4 or 5 years with Steve Wright here, the cooperation has been tremendous. I'm kind of like the local coordinator, so I kind of put all the pieces together. The race management companies from Massachusetts. So I'd like to thank in no order other than the order that I've been dealing with for all these years. Tom Tessitore, Ryan Smith, Steve Wright, Scott Hassel, and then all the other people that have been involved with the triathlon for all these years. So the reason I'm here tonight is not because of trying to get the race for this year, but to present 2 checks to the Parks and Recreation Department for $3,000 each. So from last year's race, the town of Narragansett going to the Parks and Recreation Department for specific funds that they requested, a sum of $6,000 from last year's race.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
All right, if there's no one else, we're going to move to our, we'll hold a public hearing. Scheduling till 8 o'clock. Do we have to wait till 8 o'clock? No, because there's no actual hearings. Okay, so a motion to schedule a public hearing on a petition to amend Chapter 10 of the Comprehensive Plan entitled Policies to Promote Affordable Housing.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Second. What is the date for that? Right, that's going to be scheduled on June 1st. Any discussion?
8 o'clock, right?
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock on June 1st. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved 4-0. A motion to refer this matter to the Planning Board for a recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion, basically, on many of these hearings, we refer to the Planning Board for a recommendation from them so that we have a little more of the details of the project coming into our meeting on the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved 4-0. A motion to schedule a public hearing on a petition from 151 Ocean Road LLC to amend the zoning ordinance entitled Zoning, Section 7A, entitled Affordable Housing.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. What date are you putting on for that? Okay, June 1st. This is the, these two are related. June 1st, that's going to be 8 o'clock as well. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 4-0. And a motion to refer this matter to the Planning Board for recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 4-0. We'll now move on to our consent agenda. We're going to remove item number 9. Are there any other requests for items to be removed? All right, a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 8.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 4-0. Item number 9, a motion to receive and place on file the annual reports from various boards and committees.
So I'd just like to move to continue that. I didn't finish reading all the annual reports, and you know how I love that. So I apologize, but I'd like to just continue it to next month if you guys don't mind.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved to continue
Thank you.
4-0.
I'll catch up.
Item number 10, a motion to authorize town staff to initiate CRMC approval process for the construction of a float dock at 95 Middlebridge Road.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. We had a work session. This issue's come before the Land Trust and 2 to 3 weeks ago, and now then went to a work session on March 30th. It's part of the overall management plan for Middlebridge. As people in town know, the Middlebridge property was purchased about 2.5 years ago. It's a 13-acre parcel, fortunately preserved and protected from development because of that purchase, 13 acres. At the time, Jill Lawler was the realtor and she on the project, and she donated her commission back to the town to save taxpayer money for the town. I believe that was in the amount of $42,000. So thank you to Jill for that.
Yes, thank you, Jill. Good job.
And as people know, we've had a lot of different things going on at Middlebridge. There's a lot of different uses, but we had put out, the Land Trust had spent a great deal of time looking over RFPs for restaurant use. And despite a lot of discussion and hopes about a restaurant use, nobody came forward in response to those RFPs. But fortunately, an alternative option has come forward in the form of the URI women's rowing team, which has been great, a great an exciting endeavor, and we've been working. I know Jill has been working on it, and Steve Wright from Parks and Rec has been working on it, and we have members of URI here who spent a great deal of time talking about the lease, a lease in the short term with the URI for the launch of the women's crew team, women's rowing team boats from this site. So it's an exciting opportunity, an opportunity for us to partner with URI, and an opportunity for a use on the river that will be in the spring and the fall that won't interfere with our recreational boaters, won't interfere with the summer months. And it's even in the summer and fall, if some people want to get out on the river recreationally, they are out very, very early. So I believe around 8:30. But those details, I did want to have the president of the Land Trust, Jill Lawler, and the athletic director, Thor Bjorn of URI, and the women's rowing coach, Shayla Donahue, all to come forward. So it's going to start with Jill to provide additional detail on the project. If all three of you could come up, that would be great.
Yeah, it was good. I think you covered it. He covered everything, huh?
He did. I was just going to say, thank you, Matt. You just did a great job. We just want to thank you for your help and guidance, and for Dawson as well, and obviously for Steve, because Steve, the day-to-day operations at Middlebridge go perfectly because of all the work that Steve puts in. So thank you, Steve, for all you do there. But I'd like to just be able to hand it over to Thor and to Shayla to talk a little bit more. But Susan, you had pointed this out at the workshop that we had. This is a very favorable thing with URI in the town thing. That's a terrible a program. I think that my committee and all the other committees should be challenged in this town to reach out and to find out what else can we do to bring URI and the town together. The more positive we have, the athletic director is here. He's been available at many, many meetings, and I think this is a wonderful thing for the town and for the university. And there have to be other opportunities we can foster to make the relationship with the town be a positive one and not always a negative one. So with that,
Thank you, Jill. Welcome, Thor.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us. I just wanted to be very, very brief and just to say thank you for the time during the work session, and also just to really make mention of our women's rowers and especially Coach Dono and the type of quality young women that we have representing the university and the state of Rhode Island out there rowing at 5 or 6 or about 6 in the morning, and Coach can talk a little bit more about that. And just tremendous, tremendous leaders within our community, and a chance to again partner with the town of Narragansett. It's really special to us, and we're certainly thrilled to get to this point and to hopefully be able to even be better partners for you moving forward.
I apologize, I misspelled your last name, Shayla.
Oh, that's okay. Did you get the first name? No, I'm only kidding. I want to thank you guys. We had a week where we were able to row out of Middlebridge over our spring break, and it's just such a beautiful launching area and a beautiful part of the river. And to have access to it there, I'm very appreciative of. And I think the big thing is we want to make sure that we're working with all the other projects that are going on. With our sport, we're up very early. Our practice is from 5:45, and usually the kids have 8 a.m.s, so we're usually out of there by 7:30 so the kids can get back to campus and go to class. And usually that's Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday, practice is a little bit later. I give them a break, and we start at 7, so it's usually 7 to 10. And our season starts after Labor Day. It's usually the week after Labor Day, and we go until the Thanksgiving break, and then we're inside over on campus for the months of the winter, and then in March, when the water thaws, unlike this year, it's closer to April, but we're out there in March, and we go March until, if we win our championship is usually the first weekend in May. And if we win our championship, which we all hope that we do, the NCAA's is usually held the last weekend in May, the first weekend in June. And then the athletes go home for the summer. So it hopefully fits into what you have planned for Middlebridge. And also on that, I just want to express that I do get a lot of inquiries about summer camps, high schools, interested in starting programs, and it could be a perfect opportunity to start that up as well. So,
I tried to get out there this morning, but I guess they said it was too cold.
It's been rather chilly out there.
I did. I tried. I called her yesterday.
Yeah,
but
you know,
I keep hearing how beautiful it is out there and to see the rowers. So I wanted to try to get out there one time before you came before the council. So sorry I wasn't able to.
No. The invitation's open.
Yeah.
And we have the big floating
wait till it
suits
gets
that you
warm.
can wear, and we'll dress you right up.
No, I mean, I think at the workshop, we've learned a lot, and you coming back tonight, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for the town of Narragansett. And being on the URI working committee, it's just sometimes you do get discouraged about some of the partnerships. So I'm thrilled to have a positive interaction and a partnership with URI, and I hope that through this, we can have many more.
Great, thank you.
Great. So just so everyone knows technically what it is, we are approving the initiation of the CRMC approval process for the floating dock so that it's easier for the launch of these particular shells from Middlebridge. And then in the meantime, then we will be working with Thor and his staff at URI. Our town solicitor will be working out the lease arrangement between the parties. Part of that is not done because we have to wait for State Properties Committee on the state side to sign it because URI is obviously an arm of the state. All right, so any questions or thoughts? Richard?
Yeah, I would just, not without my reading glasses, apologize. I would add initiate and expedite, because initiating is nice, but expediting, I think, shows something a little bit more aggressive, because, you know, people schedule meets. You just can't diddle, and CRMC in the past has diddled, and that can't be. So I just urge you to say it, to initiate and expedite, to put a little zing in there, because that is what we need.
Thank you, Richard.
Just to Richard's point, Jeff Cesarine has already done, as well as John Lawless, an amount of work on this project already. So hopefully they're prepared even go down tomorrow and start the process with that zing of yours, Richard.
Great.
So I just want to recognize President Dooley's wife, Lynn Dooley, in the audience here with her row team. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you. All right, are there any other comments, thoughts? All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Thank you.
All right.
We're going to take a 5-minute break just right here, okay? 5-minute break. Thank you.
Oh, all right.
His own meeting going.
Let's work together, Stan.
Stanley's got his own meeting.
Let's work together. All right. All right, so our next item is item number 11, a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 731 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled An Ordinance in Relation to Zoning as it relates to lots 173, 178, and 346-371 on Tax Assessor's Plat NH.
I'll move that motion.
Discussion. Is this, Mike, are you going to give us a presentation?
Yes, thank you. This item is very near to the end of a somewhat lengthy and complicated process, that being known as the Planned Residential District rezoning process. And as the council before you held the hearing, I wanted to make sure that you were aware of the process, why it's so unique, and what goes into it all. So I sent you a memo. I believe you all have that. Yep. I can kind of summarize that if you'd like me to. It goes back to a time a few decades ago when we had paper plats, what we call paper plats, subdivisions of land that were recorded but never built. And they didn't match the land. There were resource constraints, wetlands, et cetera. So in the late 1990s, the planning board and the staff devised an idea and a way to use these formally recorded plats in a better way. They called it the Planned Residential District. And what it's intended to do is to provide a reformatting of those developments. So that the lot lines and the roadway lines that were there for years and years and not used could be dissolved for a better layout that works better with the constraints of the site, and even can, particularly in this particular case, can reduce the amount of infrastructure cost. So what the PRD ordinance does is it allows a parcel's development capacity to be shifted to the least constrained area within a parcel. And that is what happened with this particular property known as the Shore Club. The PRD is a floating zone, which means it can be applied to any parcel in town, but it has to comply with a set of performance standards. And what it's done is, what it is for is to redesign these replats and replat the undeveloped subdivisions to be better used, as I mentioned, excuse me. The ordinance itself incorporates definitions, development standards, design guidelines, and procedures. Uniquely, the process for PRD involves subdivision approval by the planning board as well as a zone change here by the town council. And the process is 4 steps. The master plan, which is a subdivision first stage, has to be done before the planning board. That's first. Then the applicant comes to the town council for a public hearing on the zone change, which if it's approved, they get conditional approval so that they can go back to the planning board for the preliminary and final stages of the subdivision process, and then return here for a final approval of the rezoning. Everything that I just described to you is done except for that last step. So the master plan was approved in March of 2013. Your predecessors approved the rezone in April of 2013, and since that time, the applicant has been working towards the preliminary approval, which also involved a few elements of relief through the zoning board, so and their environmental permitting through the state. So they've been very busy, and we've been working together to bring this to fruition, and it is now ready for your final approval. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to.
And so the zone change is going from R40 to planned PRD?
Yes, exactly.
Just for those lots down in that area? It's not like a town-wide, because sometimes I get concerned when there's the...
No, it's a good question, actually, Ms. Mannix, because the lot lines will be dissolved. All those lots that you read in the preamble will be dissolved. It will become one single lot. And the PRD then essentially becomes the zoning for the site. The PRD is a design layout showing where all the buildings are, where the roadways go.
Changing it from single-family residential to
Right.
the planned district.
So the district plan
And it's moved
itself-
further away from the ponds, correct? The property line,
Yes, in this particular case, the center of the property has a really good high dry land, and 3 sides of it are somewhat wet. So the development capacity has been moved to the center of the property. Again, just to reiterate, the plan itself is directive once the PRD zoning is in place, and all those lot lines are dissolved.
great.
So this is actually a nicer use of property also, because things like fertilizing, I noticed, are limited to protect the waterways. And
Right.
so there must be other advantages also.
There's a whole host of advantages when you narrow down or constrain the development site area. For the developer, they need to put in less infrastructure, so it saves them cost.
Yeah.
But on the environmental side, as you said, Mr. Rinaldi, there's less impact on the sensitive areas. The wetlands are left alone. There's horizontal buffering between the development part of the site and the wetland areas. The drainage for the site is minimized, meaning the area that needs subsurface drainage is smaller. So the drainage facilities can be of a smaller capacity than if they built on these individual 10,000 square foot or 20,000 square foot lots. So there are a number of advantages.
Yeah.
The applicant is here if you have questions for them. Mr. Packer representing Mr. Fiore, they're both here if you have questions for them.
Do you have a picture, an aerial?
I didn't put it up on the screen,
You can drive by it later.
but I actually might have it on the laptop if you wanted me to take a couple minutes.
Don't have one kicking around? No.
I didn't bring in a hard copy.
I saw it a couple months ago. Yeah. And this is all town water, town sewer, correct?
Correct and correct.
Okay.
That's nice. Great project. Nice presentation.
Great, thank you.
Next time, need a picture. Like a picture.
Donnie, or Tony, do you want to come forward? No? Okay. All right, any further questions from anybody? All right. Yes, Richard.
Seen all sorts of pictures. I really think that this is a case where we want to see what we've got here on the screen. To me, this is a major issue. We have minor issues on the screen. This is major, and who remembers what happened 6, 8, 10 weeks ago? I would like to see it on the screen.
Oh, you can do it on the second reading, can we?
On the second reading, good idea. On the second reading of the ordinance, could you provide that for informational purposes?
Absolutely. I thought I might have had it on the desktop, but I don't. And I'm not tuned into the tablet server at the moment.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Yes.
We seem to have a water problem up there a little bit in the summertime, pressure. Is there going to be a larger water line, or more, is there a change in the water supply line going to happen to feed this development, or the whole road?
My understanding of it is there's 2 options. One would be that the single lots would be as is, single residential lots, which would probably be more pressure on water on the water and sewer versus if it's a conduized as it's going to be and pushed back from the pond. Am I characterizing that correctly?
I don't know.
Okay.
There is, so I just didn't know whether just adding a larger number of houses, whether that's going to reduce the pressure even more. Sometimes I don't know if the problem is the main water supply up there, or because in the summertime the problem is when some people are here, all of a sudden the water. I get calls all the time. You must have a broken pipe, and I'm almost ready to start putting pumps in because it happens in the summer. And this is not really specific to this. It's any further building up there. I assume it might reduce my water pressure even more. I didn't know if I don't know if the water company has any plans to increase the size of the pipe to help all, because there's a lot more that has to be developed up there, a lot of empty land up there. I don't know if it's just got to be on a screen, not specifically a problem maybe for this 31, but for the next 50 or 100 that's going to come. I get a little concerned because I do have a large number of units there, and we're suffering a little bit in the summertime. So if we can just maybe get the water company involved on planning for us, yeah.
When did this, I think it started, this project in 2012, went to the zoning and planning. It looks like it really has been vetted out. So I'm sure, I don't want to call on Donald, but I'm sure the capacity is good at the north end. And if you wanted to know more about that, I'm sure he could speak to that.
Well, he does have a point, because I live in that part of town also, and in the summertime, there is, there is an issue, and we'll have to look into it.
It's a significant
I wouldn't mind looking into it. There is an issue there in the summertime.
It's not going to stop this particular one.
It's not ridiculous, but
31 units is not
it's a
going to
good,
make a big difference.
No, it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah, but he might be able to address it a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
About the capacity.
I just think you understand, but I want to make sure everybody else understands. This project's been going on since late 2012. Full hearing with presentations, and all the experts were here.
Sure.
When you actually approved the ordinance, this is first reading, second reading. We've been through full hearings at the planning board, full hearings at the zoning board, certified mail to all the abutters within 400 feet, within 200 feet. We didn't bring the whole team here this evening because this is first reading after the public hearing has been completed.
Sure.
We're not prepared, and if we're going to reopen at the second hearing these issues, then I'd like you to let me know so I can.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to reopen at second hearing. It's just to see the picture. For informational purposes, I would restrict it to
I'm
that.
fine with the project. I'm ready to vote on it.
I think it's been vetted out enough also. I
appreciate that.
I don't have a problem with it at all.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved 4-0. Item number 12, a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 62 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Solid Waste.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Patrick.
Okay, I put this one on. Basically, the solid waste ordinance came into play here about, 2 years ago? Susan?
Say again?
The solid waste ordinances, was that a couple years ago?
Yeah, I think it was Jeff's not here. Maybe it was a little over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, basically, all trash haulers need to pay a fee of $250 per year to recycle, to apply and properly dispose of recycled materials. And there's the fee, I believe, is due January 1st. And then there's a late fee of $250. And what this amendment is just to make the late fee up to $250 instead of a straight $250, just to give the mom and pop trash hauler, if he got his Christmas cards out and he didn't get that fee paid, he's not going to have to go to court and pay $250. The judge can just use his discretion to give him the proper fine for being late on this fee. So that's it in a nutshell. So, all in favor?
Okay. This is providing discretion to the municipal court judge. We're providing discretion to the municipal instead of an absolute $250. You want to take over?
You got to get a second before I.
No, we did. No, it's been seconded.
Okay, all in favor.
Any further discussion from the council or public?
He was ahead. I thought he was ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved 4-0.
Thank you.
There you go.
One down.
Item number 13.
I just want to make one note for the record. This is just a start. There's quite a few ordinances out there that penalize the business owner, the town resident, and we're taking a look and see if we can't tweak them to kind of make the town more user-friendly towards businesses and residents who want to, add onto their deck or different scenarios. Thank you.
Item 13, a motion to approve the purchase of sand and the distribution of existing sand just prior to the beach season from George Sherman Sand and Gravel Company, Incorporated, utilizing the miscellaneous repair and construction contract in an amount not to exceed $14,000.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion.
Okay, I got a question on that one.
Okay.
I don't think we're putting enough sand on the bed. I think we should kind of add more sand than 14th. I think we should,
I think that we passed that in the consent agenda earlier.
Steve, can you address what's going on here and what the amount is, and that'd be helpful.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See, this guy's got pictures. See, this guy's this is what we needed, some pictures. Yeah. Right.
That picture was taken last Friday.
Yep.
And that, in my opinion, our beach is in better condition this spring than it has been in the last 5 years.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean to say that we can get hit with a late spring storm.
Right.
Our goal is to put sand on the beach on May 11th to May 15th, so about a week and a half to 2 weeks before Memorial Day. So this request is up to $14,000. So because we need approval from the town council to be able to do that to our Sherman Sand and Gravel. So what I'd like to do is, I'm looking to actually spend less than $14,000. Last year we spent $9,000 for 250 cubic yards of sand. We may be spending less than that this year if the condition of the beach looks like that around the 15th, 11th to 15th of May. So that is at the south gate in South. So the beach, that's at low tide. That was at low tide on Friday. So we're not looking that bad. Again, we still have 3 weeks to go before our target date to put sand on the beach. So, but I need to have some flexibility, because if we traditionally get, a late spring storm, all bets are off the table, and I need to be, plus this money is also for grading. We move sand around, we have to be able to grade sand around. We don't have access to a dozer, so Sherman Sand and Gravel also grades our beach, moves existing sand around for us, and then we have the beach cleaner, which will clean and prep our beach every single day for the season. So this is up to $14,000, but I don't anticipate using anywhere near that.
Right.
Great.
Well, I think my question is, should we be dumping more sand on the beach to make it wider?
Well,
just in general. I mean, I know you got parameters right here, but should we be, pushing out?
We are working with the beach sustainability group right now, and I believe by the end of this year that we're going to have a report to provide to you that will actually answer those questions and more for a long-term goal for you to think about and to react to. And I think we'll answer all those questions, because just to dump sand down in that corner may be just washing a lot of it out. And at this point, we're trying to use the money that we have to the best of our ability without losing it. And I think for our beach season, our 100-day beach season, this is what we're challenged and what we're trying to do. But it's a great question, and I hear what you're saying. But I think at this point, until the Beach Sustainability Committee, who's been working on a monthly basis for almost a year now, and I believe Dennis we're trying to wrap this up by the end of the year, and we just updated Pam just the other day. We should be finishing that up by the end of the calendar year and have a report.
He sent us a letter. He sent us a letter.
And we're excited about that, because it's a great group, and we will have some information.
How is the matching of the sand? Is as far as the color, is it close to the? Because a couple of years ago it was slightly different. I'm just wondering if the sand that you're purchasing really matches.
The gradation is about the same. It's the color. You're never going to get the color.
It's kind of yellowy almost.
Yeah,
right?
the color is very different, but the gradation is
the same.
Right.
So it's the same. Okay.
the width of the beach, do you shoot for like a certain width at a certain point and say, hey, you know, we're down 20 feet here, and I just don't understand what parameters you're using. You know, do you measure the width of the beach?
Well, we're looking.
My question.
What you're seeing that picture is at the seawall of the seawall gate,
At the
and that's
stairs,
where
yeah.
that's where we put our stairs, and that's
Right.
the most critical point from that point on to
North,
to north, exactly. And so, excuse me, that's where we're trying to gain our
Right.
beach. And if we get that, then then we're happy, because we for the last couple of years we've been actually taking attendance of our beach with actual manual counters, and we're now getting somewhere around 10,000 people per day on a busy
Right.
weekend. So I can tell you without a doubt that's what we're doing on a busy weekend on that beach.
So if we dump more sand on there and made it wider, 10,000 would, go a little easier.
Well,
on people.
I don't know if you want to. It's the problem is you can go a little bit further south, but I don't know. You're going to end up just dumping it into the ocean.
Right.
It's really not going to help
All right.
too much.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All in favor? Oh, Al, sorry, Al.
We put a pier there.
I think we can handle a pier.
Oh, he found his hearing.
Want a pier?
Yeah. They say that the pier will break up the ocean, and that would help keep the sand in place. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so like I say, a pier would be also a tourist attraction, plus the fact that it will help
retain the sand?
Retain the sand, exactly.
Right.
Yep. So, like I say, we can use a pier, and it serves two purposes. It'd be a tourist attraction, plus it help keep the sand in place.
Thank you, Al. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 4-0. Item 14, a motion to approve and authorize funding in the amount of $16,000 from the contingency fund to the Board of Canvassers budget to cover the cost for a special election in Representative House District Number 33.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. As people know, Representative Don Lally resigned on St. Patrick's Day from his seat after many years of service in the district. This is with two election dates that we'll have coming up, and we'll have a primary date on May 5th, and we'll have on June 9th the general election. It's a special election for this seat, and the person then would be seated, whoever wins this particular election. And on May 5th, I probably should note the polling places for people, for everybody at home. So St. Veronica's will be the same as at the regular election in 2014. Voters who usually vote at Metuxin will be voting at the Narragansett Community Center. And voters who would be voting usually at Canachet because of a conflict there will be voting here at Town Hall. It's a small amount of voters in that particular precinct. So for everyone at home, those are something different in this election cycle that they need to know. Hopefully we'll be able to revert back to our normal locations after that. Just some information there. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Item number 15. A motion to approve the 2015 contract agreement for production support services with Bill Brackett Theatrical Productions, LLC for the 39th Annual Concert on the Beach in the amount of $11,000, and authorizes the town manager to sign the contract after review by the town solicitor.
Move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. This is related to the Philharmonic. If there's no questions, then it's a great event.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is this part of our next, it's totally separate from our next motion, obviously, but is this sponsored, or is this something that the town pays for in total? Because I know
it basically breaks even, I believe, but Steve can talk to it. Oh, I'm sorry, misspoke. Go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does
There's
not
two
break.
parts, right?
It does not break even, but
Traditionally, Steve, what does this event do money-wise? It loses or gains?
it loses. It loses, but it is the premier event of the entire season of down at the beach, and it's quite expensive. It's $31,500. Bill Brackett is actually requested by the Philharmonic. They actually request Bill Brackett to do all the production work.
Oh, they do a wonderful job.
We did, Lisa Roy of my office has citizens on board. Last year, they came up with a $5,000 sponsorship, which really set us back last year for 2014. This year, they came back and they are now sponsoring this event with a $10,000 sponsorship.
nice.
So that helps us considerably. We also, if you've been down there, which you all have, you'll see that we get donations for parking, and we also get donations. We go out in the crowd during the break. We get donations. We also sell VIP tickets to anybody with a fenced-in area. So we try to offset as much as possible. So we probably offset that $31,000 by somewhere around $13,000 or $14,000, $15,000. So maybe half of that as best we can.
Oh, this is a well worth. This event is just wonderful. Thank you very much.
And again, it all comes out of the enterprise fund.
Yeah.
So.
No, it promotes the town very nicely.
So
Thanks.
we budgeted for it, so we try to offset it as much as possible. And we also do get a sponsor. We get a sponsor that also provides all of the food for the VIPs and the entertainers, because the Philharmonic also has to be fed. All the performers have to be fed, and that's sponsored too.
Great. It's a
lot
great
goes
event.
into it.
Are the food trucks out there that night?
Not that night,
Not
no.
that night, okay.
Maybe we get the attendees to bring some sand.
We'll get you sand.
That's for you, Ray.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Very good.
Al.
If we had up here.
So last time we were there, they were charging like $5 per person. Now, do they have any kind of a record of that money? I know one time they were letting the people on the beach, and they had to give them a slip to show, account for that amount of money. Otherwise, who's to say how much they're going to turn in?
The guy coming right up here, $5, and he's accounting for it, so here we go.
That's
right
pretty
there.
cheap for a concert.
All of the donations go into sealed buckets. We have them sealed, they're taped, and they're locked, and then they go into the clubhouse, and we have the sales office. They're all senior citizens that work for us, and the seniors that work for us, and then they're counted and deposited that night. So there are no games with that money.
Oh, thank you very much.
I can assure you that there's nothing happening with that money.
Al.
Yeah, we actually went last year. It was a wonderful time. But I think what my dad was referring to is when you're parking the cars, they have, I guess, the people who are actually collecting the $5 that's required to be paid upon entering the parking lot. So, excuse me? After 5, right. So I guess my dad was concerned about regards to ensure the accountability of those monies. Do the people who are taking the monies, is there a bucket that they're using to ensure the money is going directly into that? Or to, you don't want to be negative or anything, but with all that accountability and whatnot, I mean, with all that money in people's hands, someone putting $10, $15 in their pocket, you never know. So I think that's what his concern was. Not the seniors that were going around, but actually, I guess, the people who were the attendants of the cars actually coming on in. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Steve's been hiring some pretty nice people, and he pays them right, and there's a lot of volunteers too, but thank you for that. The work you do, Steve.
Buckets of money, huh?
All right, all in favor of item number 15?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved 4-0. Item 16, a motion to approve the 2015 contract agreement for the 39th annual concert on the beach with the RI Philharmonic Orchestra in the amount of $20,500 and authorizes the town manager to sign the contract after review by the town solicitor.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion, so related to the Philharmonic, again, these two motions somewhat work together. Is there any further input? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Item 17, a motion to approve a 5-year extension for the land evidence records and equipment system with ACS, a Xerox company, in the amount of $1,950 per month for 60 months, and additional mapping services in the amount of $6.75 per map, and authorizes the town manager to sign the contract after review by the town solicitor.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, so this item refers to our land evidence records process. Is there any questions on that? If not, I'll take a all in favor.
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Number 18, a motion to schedule a hearing to approve a request from the Economic Development Committee on behalf of the merchants in the Pier Marketplace for the approval of new signage, and a motion to refer to the Planning Board for recommendation.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. Right, so this is a letter, this is a sign in the Pier Marketplace, a picture of which we have in the packet, and we're going to refer to the Planning Board for recommendation. Richard.
You know, as I mentioned before, the town has a long history of involvement in what was called once the Urban Renewal District. And this shows the importance this particular body still has for piddling events. I mean, this is a minor league thing. If we have approval rights on minor league things, we certainly have the ability to act at a bigger level. We have chosen, really for the last 3 or 4 councils, not to take on Gilbane. We've been very, very, very nice. I was telling my friend Stanley, a few years ago, I decided to take on GE. GE didn't have a chance against me. And within one day, I had what I wanted. I had a red letter from the chairman of the board. What we have been messing around with here are dealing with very nice people, but they are again at the piddling level, the low level. At this point, we have every right in the world to review the history of this and to see the hurt of the town that Gilbane property has done to us these last 5 and 6 years. But we don't want to mess around with Gilbane property. We go right to the chairman of the board and say, we're as mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. And maybe we get some response. But it is really time we take this step. And remember the movie, it was a great movie. I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. This is really the time to say that.
Now, Richard, I reached out to Bob Gagliotti 2 weeks ago. He got back to me, and there's 2 potential tenants for the Pier Marketplace. And it building D, the building in the back that they're rehabbing now, they're may have like a doctor's office reception type thing going in there. So
you go for the chairman of the board. This is where the action is. And we have, it was different when the Gilbanes were living here. And we had access to what I consider to be a wonderful family where we could talk. We've got to pick up the chairman of the board and say, it has been 5 years, I would assume, that this has been vacant. It has immeasurably hurt this community, individual citizens. It's hurt our business base. It was our corner store, the
IGA.
Yeah, but what was you call them, the keys, the rental?
Anchor.
The anchor store.
Tenant. Yeah.
And it did work.
Yeah.
And it was just coming to a successful adjustment. And then, whoosh, we triple your rent, they go, and we've had just an intolerable situation. And go to the chairman of the board. This is not that hard to do. And since this is or was the residence of the Gilbane, and they made a lot of promises to us 40 years ago, I think we could get some action.
Duly noted.
I know where Richard is coming from, because I was around at that time. I've been here a resident for quite a while. And they promised us all kinds of things and never came through with anything. That was supposed to be like Mystic Village there.
Yep.
Well, there's nowhere near like Mystic Village. They got those houses there, and they just took advantage of the situation. So if we do any business with them, we got to make sure they're going to hold their word to what they're saying.
So we met, EDC actually met with Gilbane, and then Patrick, when he got on board, we just met again. We continue to try to have conversations with them. But to Richard's point, I mean, we talked to, I thought, some high-level people, but we did not make the progress we want. The rent is extremely high, but more to do there because we continue to reach out to try to do that.
Well, the problem is to get a tenant in there that where they have the traffic. But when you got a wall of condos around you blocking the Atlantic Ocean, it's tough to get an anchor tenant. I mean, it's just the location. You know, the first rule of real estate is location. And I mean, you got a fortress of condos around you, so it's kind of a tough sell.
Well, they just can't trust Gilbane.
Yeah,
promises a Mystic Village there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There's nowhere near like a Mystic Village.
It's turned into Mystery Village. You can't find it.
That's right.
Believe me, I was there I was there 40 years ago myself, and I remember it vividly. The only thing I can come up with is some kind of tax relief for a potential tenant to induce somebody to get in there. So that's about all we can do.
All right, this is, item 18 is scheduling a public hearing on the signage. So do we have a date on that, or we wait for the planning board recommendation? Is that our process?
We picked May 4th.
Do we think it'll be ready that soon?
Mike hopes to put it on the April meeting of planning.
April planning, okay. So that will be scheduled for May 4th at 8 o'clock?
No, it's not like a public hearing. It would just be on the agenda.
But on our agenda? Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion approved 4-0. Item 19, a motion to schedule a hearing to approve a request from the Village Inn for the approval of new signage on the hotel conference center and on the property, and a motion to refer to the planning board for recommendation.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. So on this one, would this be the same night, or could we push this a little later to the next meeting? Yeah, let's push that out. I see there's like an LED sign floating around here. Is that correct? Okay. So that could engender some questions. Yes? Well, why did it says it in our packet that it is?
Illuminated, reverse channel letter, illuminated by LED lights. So it's just a low voltage lighting system that goes against the building.
Okay, so when we have this discussion of this, so let's have it on a separate night, Mike, the second May meeting. What would that be? Are you available that night?
We're available, but we're trying to rename the hotel by the 1st of June. So that does create a hardship for us. If there's any way we could do it for the first meeting in May, that would be gratefully appreciated.
Okay, do you want to do it the first meeting in May? All right.
Yeah, that's not
What's that, May 4th? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved 4-0. Item number 20, a motion to approve the retention of Pierre Vaj Esquire to advise the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Review on a single application for a dimensional variance where the solicitor has recused himself from participation.
Move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. It's an item on the Planning Board agenda where Dawson has recused himself, so this is an appointment just for that single sole purpose. Any discussion? Do you want to address it, Dawson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just advise the council that I did recuse myself from a matter that's coming up on the Zoning Board of Review agenda. Mr. Vaj is an attorney experienced in zoning and land use. He's not based here in South County, and I do not have a personal relationship with him, nor does anybody in my firm or town government that we're aware. We just thought independence would best protect the process here.
Great, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Item number 21. I'm actually going to continue that motion. Do you want me to read the whole thing, Ann? Okay, this is item number 21 is the appointments of individuals to the Historic District Commission for a 3-year term to expire on January 1st, 2018. And we're going to. I would like to see a motion to continue this.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 4-0. Item 22, a motion to schedule a work session with the Planning Board and Horsley Witten Group on the draft comprehensive plan.
Move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. This item we actually scheduled at, this is more of a formality motion, so this was actually scheduled at our last meeting about the comprehensive plan. This is scheduled for tomorrow, so people at home who want to attend, it would be at 6:30. What's planned for 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. Typically, we would put out a scheduling of something like this with more notice, but the notice, we did do that discussion at the comp plan meeting, and I asked Ann Timbley to put it on for informational purposes so we could share it with people at home. Any further discussion? That's tomorrow, 6:30. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Item 23 is a motion to approve the Rhode Island Interlocal Risk Management Trust as the town's health and dental insurance administrator and authorize the town manager to sign all applicable documents.
I'll move this motion.
Second.
Discussion.
So, Pam, can you explain this? Because it's a little bit different than the school departments, correct?
Excuse me?
Are you going to explain this?
Excuse me?
Are you going to explain this a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's different. They use the trust, right?
Yeah. School department uses the
The
trust.
reason why I want this changed, it's a very part
And
of
they're not
the
gonna use the trust.
Right.
reorganization of the finance department, is so that we can get more credible financial information on our health benefits and how they're paid from the trust. As I pointed out in my memo to you, the trust handles all the rest of our insurances. And we are very, very happy with the job that they do, and we have been. We have extreme satisfaction with them. They handle our property, our liability, our vehicle, our workers' comp, and our life insurance. They have a pool, a health pool, so we'll still be self-insured, but they do have a health pool, so we have the ability to have experience from the health pool, which should help us. Also, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, has made it very, very difficult for us to do this without going to the trust, which has about 4 more employees and will handle all the administration for us. It's very concerning that West Bay right now is leaderless, and they have 1.5 employees anyhow. So we'd like to go with the trust, and I gave you a whole list of reasons. Do you want me to go through them?
No, I was just wondering, because I knew they use West Bay, you're going to use the trust.
Could you turn that on?
I just knew it was different than the school, and I was just curious to know the rationale of the difference, but I'm
Laura
fine with
may
that.
know if, is this different than the school,
The
Laura?
school?
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's
Yeah,
different.
school
It is
uses
different.
West
They
Bay.
use West Bay, and you
Right.
want to use the trust. So
Well,
it
right
is.
now
the
we
other way
use
around.
West Bay.
No,
We'd
no.
like to go to
Yeah.
the trust.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with it. I just,
Okay,
So the
and
only-
I read the reasons why. I'm good.
okay.
So the only question that I had was the reason for the decrease It wasn't as a result of the change. The reason for the decrease is other than a result of the change from one to the other?
It will cost us 2.5%. However, the rates are guaranteed by the trust, which means West Bay doesn't guarantee our rates every year.
Right.
The trust will guarantee our rates. What this has led to is that one year we have a 15% charge over the last year. And the next year we have no charge at all.
Yep.
And it's gone back like that. It's seesawed back and forth. What the trust does is they guarantee our rates for a whole year. So we see it smoothing out and actually being much more solid for us to be able to accurately put our estimations in for our budget. I think that we need to do this for many reasons. They have a wonderful, the trust, like I said, we're very happy with them in the way that their expertise is with all of our insurances, and we'd like to use the trust again for as our employee health benefit administration agency.
Yep.
We just think they're far superior.
Okay. So they provide more service.
Excuse me?
They provide a little more service to us.
They provide quite a bit more, especially in the way of an audit trail
Yep.
and analysis.
And that's going to help.
It should help in the end.
Laura.
It should help everything we do with health and with employee health benefits. It should make us more accurate. Our numbers will be have more integrity. I don't want numbers that are going to fall apart if you try to touch them. We've got to have numbers with integrity. I like what they're doing.
The 2.5% is that's the charge to switch over from West Bay to the trust.
That's the difference, right? That's the difference, isn't it?
Excuse me?
That's the difference between the two.
2.5%
Yeah, that's the
charge.
2.5, but we do think it's going to smooth out.
Yep.
The question is there any way you can make that up through
Yes.
discounts on the other
Yes, we can make it up.
services that they provide?
Yes. We have guaranteed rates. That should help right
Looks like
there.
it does.
Laura, can you address this more definitively than I can? She's the person that,
'Cause it's kind of like going with Allstate. Instead
Yeah.
of just doing your car and your house, you put them together. And,
in a way.
Yeah.
I just think that with the change that the Healthcare Administration or the Obamacare, and I hate to call
Sure.
it,
They're organized.
Affordable Care
Yeah.
Act
Right.
has caused, we've got to do some serious
Correct.
examination of our numbers
And they're
our
organized.
analysis.
Yeah.
Actually, what we're trying to do is put all of our insurance with one company. We feel that between workers' comp claims and health insurance claims, that if they can look at both at the same time, there might be a way to cross-reference claims so that we
Right.
can determine that claims are being paid
Properly.
correctly.
Right.
The staff has a great deal of expertise in the Affordable Care Act. They are actually going to file and report for us, and within our rate, premium rate is the fees for the Affordable Care Act for this year. The difference of the 2.5% is actually the difference between the two premium rates of the WB versus the trust. However, when we talk about premiums to the employees, the premium is not going to change. So there is no rate increase on
Same
the
coverage.
health. There's actually a very small decrease if we were to go with the trust. As far as dental goes, there is a slight increase. Let me tell you, it ends up on a family plan being less than $4 a month. So basically, over the course of a year, I don't see a great impact when you're talking 20%. So it's
Right.
$12 a year to an employee on a family dental plan. The rate that did increase was the work-related injury portion for our public safety. There was a larger span between the two quotes of about $34,000. So overall, the 2.5% is about $87,000 on a $3.3 million premium.
Right.
And I believe that having a guaranteed rate over a self-insured rate and be able to stabilize our rates over time with a pooled vehicle with the trust, along with their expertise, that it is the way to go.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Ron.
Number 11, it says the Obamacare reporting will be afforded by trust staff. It means it will be conducted by trust staff,
Yes.
right? Okay, okay.
Yes.
Great. Any further questions or discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 4-0. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful night. Thank you.
Do you want these back?
Right. It's,